Hello friends, welcome to yet another episode of Quarantinecoders. Today is day 2. We are going to see the data types in Python. Today I am going to use the online editor Jupyter notebook along with you. Then you will find it very easy to implement the same steps I have implemented. So today we are going to see about data types. The data types are the most fundamental things in any language, so I need you to be at the utmost concentration in this episode. Okay, now let's go into it directly. So I'm going to try this Jupyter editor in my browser. And this is Jupyter Lab, the package which we want to open, and I will click on it. So yeah, now the Jupyter notebook is open. Let's directly go into today's class. You have to go into File, New and Notebook, which is the fundamental command to create a new notebook. And after the new notebook is created, I am going to close on this default notebook which they have given. And in this new notebook, we are going to try all the experimental stuffs which we are going to do today on data types. And Python 3 is the version, as I said in the previous episode. Now, let's start with data types and roll today's episode. The two fundamental data types are very fundamental. It's either you write in alphabets or you use numbers. So numbers and alphabets are the two basic types of data. So an alphabet is technically called as string in a programming language. An alphabet is technically called as string in a programming language, and a number can be of three types. It's called as an integer, float, and complex number. A number can be three types. It can be an integer, a float, and a complex number, and an alphabet can be of only one type. It's called a string. Now in this class we'll go into detail and see what each of the category means. Now I am using hash here. As we all know, hash is a comments, so nothing will be executed in this program. So now I am assigning a value 5 to the variable x. So this is a new operator which we are learning today. It's called the type. This type of x gives the data type of x. The value x has the number 5 and the type of the number 5 is integer. So x is equal to 5 and the type of x is integer. An integer is a whole number. As we know, 5 is a whole number and hence the data type is integer. Now I am giving x is equal to hello world. Hello words are alphabets. Anything within double quotes is called a string. It's within single quotes. So a string can be technically written inside a double quotes or single quotes. So x is equal to hello world. Now I am printing the type of x. It is a string. So we have given it within single quotes. Anything given within single quotes or double quotes is called as a string. So the type of x is string here. So now I am giving x is equal to 5 at first, and now I am giving x is equal to hello world at second. So basically what we are doing is we are having a container which has water. Now we are pouring the water and adding juice. What will be in the container? The second added thing, the juice will be there. In the same way, x is a container which had a value 5. Now we are removing that 5 and replacing it with hello world. So if you print x now, it will print hello world and the type of x will be string, because hello world is a string which is written inside double quotes. So the value of x gets updated as the flow of the program goes. First we have given it 5, then we have replaced the 5 with hello world. So if you print now, it will print hello world and the type of hello world is string. Now we are giving x is equal to 1. An integer is a whole number. Anything which is whole number is called integer. It may be positive or negative. So x is equal to 1 is a whole number and it's of integer data type. And y is equal to 2.8. Anything with a decimal value is called as a float. So 2.8 is a decimal value and it is a float. Next we have complex data type. Anything with the value j. J is an imaginary part. We will go into detail into complex data types because it's a sort of advanced stuff for now. So basically what we are going to do is print the type of x and check here. So the type of x is integer because x is equal to 1. 1 is a whole number. And we are going to print the type of y and print the type of z and check whether our assumption is correct, because 1 is a whole number, so I assume x will print integer. Yeah, x printed integer. Y is a decimal number, so y printed float. Z has an imaginary part called j, so z printed complex. So these are the three fundamental types under number category, and in the alphabet category there is string, and in the number category we have integer, float and complex. So now I'm going to go detail into integer. Anything which is a whole number is called integer, either it be positive or negative. So x is equal to 1 is a whole number, x is equal to this large number is a whole number, and x is equal to a negative number. This is also a whole number. So all three are integer data types. Now we will see into detail into float data types. Anything with a decimal point, either a positive or a negative number, is called a float data type. So x is equal to 1.0, x is equal to 1.19, and x is equal to negative value. Now I'm going to give a negative value here. Minus 35.67 is a negative value. So all these three have a decimal value after the whole number. So all these three comes under the category of float. So next I am going to give complex number. Anything which has an imaginary part is called a complex number. An imaginary part is mentioned as j in Python. So 3 plus 5j. 3 is a whole number, 5j is an imaginary part. Anything with an imaginary part is called complex number. So 3 plus 5j, 5j and minus 5j, all are complex number. So what we conclude from this, the number be negative or positive. If it is a whole number, it's integer. If it's a decimal, it's float. If it has an imaginary value, it's called as complex. So now I am going to teach you about type conversion. Type conversion is pretty much simple if you have understood these data types correctly. So now I am going to assume three different variables of three different data types. X is equal to 1 is an integer, y is equal to 2.8 is a float, and now z is equal to 1j is a complex number. So x is equal to 1 is an integer, y is equal to 2.8 is a float, z is equal to 1j is a complex number. So what I am basically doing here is a is equal to float of x. So as we know, x is an integer. If we give float of x, it converts this x integer into a float number and stores it in a. So if I print a, x will be a float number. Float number has a decimal value. So x is equal to 1. It is converted into 1.0 here as a float value, and the data type is float here. So if we convert x into float, 1 is converted into 1.0. So this is a pretty simple conversion as far as I know. And now I am going to convert y into integer. Integer is a whole number and y is 2.8, a decimal number. So the whole number part in 2.8 is just 2. So if we convert y into integer, it gives just 2. So I am converting y into integer and storing it in a variable b and printing. So here we have 2. 2 is the whole number part of y. So that is why it's getting printed when we convert it into integer. Now we are going to convert this complex number into an integer data type. Sorry, I just told you wrongly. Now we are going to convert integer into complex data type. Integer x is equal to 1 does not have any imaginary part, but to convert into complex we need an imaginary part. So it will be converted as 1 plus 0j. 0j means no complex part. So this is how we convert data types between each other. So 1 is converted into float as 1.0, 2.8 is converted into integer as 2, and 1 is converted into complex number as 1 plus 0j. Now I am going to teach you how to generate random numbers. It's pretty much simple. Just you have to import a module called random. In future we will see how to import, what is import and what is a module. Just remember, for now, if you need a random number, you have to import random, and you have to give in the print statement that random dot rand range. Rand range means random dot the range which the number should be. Now I want 0 to 9 to be printed. Sorry, now I want 1 to 9 to be printed. So I am giving 1, 10 as the range. The 10, the last number, is excluded. So the range will be 1 to 9. Every time I run this program, it gives a different output. See, 4, 8. So this keeps on generating a random number. Now we have learnt about data types. Two basic things: alphabet, which is called as a string; number, which is classified into integer, float and complex. And how to see the type of the variable using the type operator. And how to convert the data types into different data types, like we are converting integer into float, float into complex, similar stuff. And we have also learned how to generate a random number. Now basically everyone's doubt will be like, when we print, sometimes you're using single quotes and sometimes you're using double quotes. That is nothing. If we can print using single quotes or double quotes. A string which is within quotes can be single quotes or even double quotes. Both give the same output and the same result. So for example, I am printing hello with single quotes and hello with double quotes. Both print the same output, hello. Single quotes or double quotes doesn't matter in Python. You can declare a variable string with single quotes and double quotes. You can print with single quotes and double quotes. So that's basically all we have to say in data types. And I finally conclude this episode. I hope you have understood this. If you have any trouble understanding, please just replay the video and just slowly see to grasp every part of it. And if you have any doubts, you can contact us using the mail in the description. Please make sure to like, share, comment and subscribe our YouTube channel, Quarantinecoders. The link to the Jupyter Lab notebook is given in the description, and use headphones for the best audio quality. Stay tuned for more videos. Signing off, Quarantinecoders.